The world of NFTs is definitely an interesting one, which then makes tax on NFTs a very interesting area to research. That has definitely been one of the most interesting areas I've researched over the last 6 months. So today I'm going to talk all about NFTs and tax here in Australia. Hello everyone, my name is Ethan Rushock, and as I just said, I'm going to be talking about tax and NFTs today. So if you don't know what an NFT is, go and check out the video I did on that a while ago. It's definitely worth educating yourself on. Even if you're not interested in investing in NFTs or buying NFTs, just have an idea of what they are. So just really quickly, they're non-fungible tokens. A lot of people refer to them as, say, digital art, but there are a lot more to it than just that. But obviously anything where people have made a lot of money, which people have definitely made a lot of money off these, the ATO come knocking and going, okay, we want some tax on that. NFTs do bring with them some really unique tax challenges, so I'm going to talk about those kind of things today. But this is a very evolving space. So what I talk about today may not be true in 6 months' time. So make sure you do some up-to-date research no matter when you're watching this, because things are changing very quickly, and I imagine the ATO themselves will put out more material in the future on how certain things are going to be taxed within the NFT space. The reason for that, there's so many different projects that have so many different types of monetary rewards or smart contracts that will give different rewards at different points. So everything's structured really differently, which makes it hard to put one uniform rule in place. So you've got things like NBA Top Shot, CryptoPunks, VeeFriends, Axie Infinity, Zed Run. They're all different types of NFTs, and they vary massively in what their approach is and what they're made up of. So straight away, I'll jump into what the ATO have to say, because they have released one thing on their website back in June. So they pretty much said that the tax treatment of non-fungible tokens, NFTs, follows the same principles as cryptocurrencies. So they said a non-fungible token is a unit of data stored on a digital ledger. NFTs are unique and therefore not interchangeable. So that pretty much is saying that we're going to treat NFTs like cryptocurrencies, but that's going to bring with it a lot of problems, which I'll get into as we go. So the next thing they kind of say is there's lots of different ways that you potentially could pay tax on an NFT. So you've got things such as under the capital gains tax regime, on revenue account as trading stock, as part of a business or profit-making scheme, and then just to complicate it more, depending on the terms of the NFT smart contract, it could be a combination of all of the above. And then you obviously also have personal use of NFTs, but like you have personal use of crypto. So we've got all these different ways they could be taxed, but all they're saying is they're going to be taxed like cryptocurrencies, which I think brings with it a lot of issues. So I think a lot of what the ATO thought was, we'll use the example of CryptoPunks. So say you went and bought one CryptoPunk for 2 Ethereum. So you bought it for 2 ETH, that has a value of, say back then it might have been worth 4,000 Australian dollars. Now that's gone massively up in value and you sell it for 50 ETH. And that's got a huge value of $250,000. I don't think there's anyone debating that you're probably going to have to pay tax on that. And that's going to be simply under the CGT method, a bit like crypto, that you've bought an asset and you go sell the asset. A bit like shares, you bought an asset and you sell the asset, and that difference between that is going to be capital gains, and if you've held for over 12 months, you'll get that 12 months discount. The other area that is pretty straightforward is if you're running a business where you're selling NFTs, so you're an artist, you create an NFT and you sell it to the public, then that's likely going to be ordinary income at the time of sale in Australian dollars. So that's pretty straightforward. That's kind of mirrors anything else in business. So it's no different to selling another asset for Australian dollars. You may be selling this NFT for some type of crypto. Whatever that value is on that day of sale is going to be your ordinary income for your business. Where it starts to get a little bit confusing is we have this example on the ATO. So we've got personal use of an NFT. So this is talking about an example from above, but Jo, who is related to the subject of the portrait from the above example, she uses the private viewing of the portrait to celebrate their birthday with close family and friends every year. For Jo, the NFT would be a personal use asset. So someone's created a portrait of her, she shows it to family and friends, and then that becomes a personal use asset. Now, this starts to get a little bit more complicated, because then what about if she sells that in the future? How does that work from a tax point of view? So as you can see, at the moment they're saying treat them like cryptocurrencies. So that would be on a capital gains event system in most situations. Sale price less purchase price is going to be a gain. You've got your 12 months discount if applicable. But what I'm going to do now is run through some challenges. Now, I don't have all the answers for these yet. I'm still researching all of this stuff, so I will be doing more updates on particular projects going forward. But this is just some of my early thoughts or some of the questions that have been raised to me on tax and NFTs. So the first one was, well, should it be under a collectibles regime? So under a collectibles, so if you buy normal art, then if it's under $500 acquisition price or market value when you acquire it, that's exempt from CGT in most situations. So could NFTs have been treated like that? To me, that would have logically made sense. But at the moment, the ATO is saying treat them like cryptocurrencies, which is different to the way art's treated. There isn't that $500 exemption. So I think that could have made things a lot more simple. But I guess the ATO were going, well, a lot of projects that started under $500 have massively increased, and some of them are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars now. So they probably didn't want to miss out on the tax on them. So I think that's an area that's still worth exploring, and it's definitely an area I will be speaking to the ATO about more going forward. So then we have a project like NBA Top Shot, which for those that don't know, it's pretty much like a digital trading cards of the NBA. So obviously this involves you acquiring packs and lots of little individual transactions. So in the real world, if you were acquiring normal trading cards and selling them, most people would be doing that as a hobby and you wouldn't be paying tax on it. And to track this on individual transactions will be really messy. So to me, that falls more under a hobby, not under the CGT, and it would become very complex to track that from a CGT point of view. So again, another example of an NFT project that may have something that mirrors it in the real life that's taxed very differently to how cryptocurrencies are taxed, and therefore I'd imagine the NFTs themselves should be taxed very differently to other NFT projects. So a really interesting project is Zed Run. So it's pretty much digital horse racing and also digital horse breeding. Now, what's interesting, in the real world, there's a tax ruling, I think it is TR 93/26, that talks about horse racing and horse breeding. And a lot of times horse racing will end up as a hobby, because otherwise you'd have people going and buying horses, trying to race them, make money off them, make these losses that were then able to be offset against other income. It would cause a lot of issues. So is Zed Run classed as horse racing and horse breeding, and therefore does it fall under that tax ruling? Or is it classed as an NFT and therefore falls under this really broad NFTs are treated as crypto tax? It's a really interesting space, because it's going to bring with it a lot of problems. As you're seeing, these projects all differ from each other. So I can't think that one thing is going to be how they're all going to be taxed. Or are they going to mirror their real world tax rulings? A few other things, we've got things like Axie Infinity, which is more game style. So again, anything that's normally gaming, if you're playing a PlayStation game and you're making a small amount of money off that, again, it's likely like to be a hobby and therefore not taxable. So are the NFTs that are game style things going to be non-taxable? That's again another area that I'm doing some research in, speaking to the ATO about. Another example is VeeFriends, which I have purchased the VeeFriend, which I will be talking about more on this channel. But for instance, that gave you access to a business related conference. Now, does a portion of that purchase price become related to a business expense and therefore deductible then? It's really interesting because these smart contracts are giving different benefits at different times. Therefore, the tax is going to become really complex on them without more set in stone rulings regarding particular projects or particular project styles. So I can see a lot of private rulings happening in this area. As I said at the start of the video, this is going to be a complex area and it's going to keep evolving. So make sure you're always seeking up-to-date research, because the ATO could release more stuff. If you need to seek a private ruling, do that with the ATO. You may have to get your accountant involved, but that's likely going to cost you some money. But at the same time, if you've got something that you've made significant gains off and you're thinking could be tax exempt, it may be worth exploring that path. I will try and keep people updated on tax and NFTs as I discover more information or as projects evolve. But make sure you go check out some of the other crypto content I've got on my channel. I thank you for watching and I'll talk to you again soon.